Hey guys, Ryan here from the Hustle and Grind podcast. Today we have an amazing guest on, Scott Moir, 5-time Olympic medalist with his partner, Tessa Virtue. Today we have an amazing conversation with Scott, what it's like to transition from one of the most recognized athletes in our country into entrepreneurship and business ownership, as he is now the director of the Ice Academy in Montreal, the Ontario campus that they just opened up. We talk about so much with Scott. We talk about collaboration, the power of collaboration, surrounding yourself with people that you trust, having a partner that really pushes you to achieve excellence, just like Tessa and Scott pushed each other, creating innovation through their figure skating career, but then also how Scott has brought that innovation into his professional and business career as well. You know, building a brand and managing that brand, as Scott and Tessa have managed that brand throughout their entire figure skating career. This is an episode you've got to check out. Super excited to have Scott on. Let's get into it. Scott Moir on the podcast today. Thanks, Scott, for coming on. Obviously, I got my notes here and I was checking out Wikipedia. I had to stop like halfway down because it's just too much information.
Didn't have the time.
Yeah,
but I mean, you know,
skated with Tessa is good enough.
Skated with Tessa, yeah.
Read her wiki page; it's bigger anyway.
Oh well, okay. I'm glad I didn't have to go down that rabbit hole. But you know, unless you've been living under a rock, definitely know who Scott Moir is. Part of the partnership with Tessa Virtue. You're the most decorated figure skaters in Olympic history. And is that Canada wide, or is that, again, I'm going off my Wikipedia
We're
notes
lucky
here,
with
buddy.
that one, I think.
Yeah.
But they also invented, in their second Olympics, they invented the team event.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we got 2 shots, and typically
Nice.
every Olympics, and Canada has a good team. So
Yeah.
that is worldwide for now. I'm hoping maybe some other Canadian kids can come up and beat that.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, it's just an honor having you on here. We were talking about that off mic and just about how this will be really great. It'll be a unique approach to what we've been talking about with our guests in terms of entrepreneurship, business ownership, and that sort of thing, about the transition, right, from being an athlete, a world-renowned athlete, into transitioning into, I guess, like regular life, entrepreneurship. There's some things that you're doing now that are really, really cool that we want to explore. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really great.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
thanks
to be here,
thanks
man.
for coming.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
I'm pretty new at this entrepreneurship thing, my entrepreneurial journey. So I'm here to learn more than you guys.
I'm gonna call bullshit on that. Sorry, Scotty.
Let's see.
That's true.
No, and the reason I say that is you know, as an athlete, when the worldwide recognition became a thing, you guys took care of a lot of your own stuff back then. So and that wasn't yesterday. So when you say new to entrepreneurship, I think maybe a new venture, but you got some reps under your belt.
Yeah, I think we were lucky to be able to have a long partnership. First of all, like, I think I learned so much just being in the partnership with T. Like, how to be a teammate, but also how to be a really good partner, which I use, I think, in my work every day. But yeah, it's interesting to kind of switch over as an amateur athlete, right? Because we're being in the Olympics, it's like we take pride in just being an athlete and not thinking about, like, okay, when my payday, your payday's not coming, right? And even for us as figure skaters, we were able to make more money probably than most of our other than the NHL guys, the other Olympians, just because we can do shows, right? So but you're not doing that. You're not making a living. Like, you're not making generational wealth off of that, like probably the hockey guys are able to do. But so we're doing sport more for just the pureness of it, which I think connects with a lot of Canadians. But I started to get a bit of that, like it was like a figment of my imagination. That's how I had to be, and especially now transitioning into being a coach, into running a shop, and realizing that, okay, the success of my business actually makes me better at what my goal is, which is to have better athletes and be able to offer better service to the community. So it kind of went hand in hand. And then as we were coming up as well, like, we couldn't just continue to be at the top of the world. compete with the Russians and all of that who are getting completely funded. Even though our funding from the federal government was pretty good, we needed these edges. And so we needed these partnerships with the Air Canadas and all the like Sobeys Foods and that to kind of help us get an edge. So we had to negotiate and kind of plan all that and budget. And I think that's kind of the start of when we started to be in control of our own destiny, our own businesses in a way. And that turned on like a light switch, baby. Oh my God.
Yeah, we were talking about that. I mean, that literally happened overnight after the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver,
in
right?
2010, yeah. That's why it's funny. You're like, this isn't a new thing, but for me, it's still 2010 in Vancouver. But like we're young kids walking down the street in Vancouver, and then the next day you can't walk down the street in Vancouver.
Wow.
And then you're
Just like that.
It's crazy.
Because you won the gold at that Olympics.
Yeah, our first game.
Yeah.
And we were kids.
Yeah.
Like we were the youngest ever to do it, 22 and 20.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Holy
that was,
shit.
and it was a dream. I mean, the Canadians did such a great job putting that games on, and the support. I mean, I wish that we had gone for one more bid in these last ones that ultimately the community decided they didn't want to do, but it did really change the landscape of sport in Canada, and we were lucky enough to be able to be a part of programs like B210 and Own the Podium and a whole bunch of cash that said, like, you know what, as Canadians, we just don't want to be a plate and part of it anymore. We want to freaking
compete.
Win.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then that changed kind of, I think we changed our approach because it was okay for us to be like that. And then we kind of took that into, business. And we wanted to run our own tours and we wanted to do things differently. It changed a lot. We were lucky in 2010 because when we woke up, we had another champion before us that was a really good friend. His name David Pelletier. You might remember him from 2002 Olympics when he got fucking hosed.
Yeah.
Sorry for my cursing. I don't know.
No, we're allowed to swear on here. Don't worry.
But,
we're on Rogers, but it's late at night.
All right, sorry, Rogers. I'll clean it up here. But they got ripped off as like the most obvious judging scandal in the history of our sport, anyways. But he always looked out for the next generation, and he was acting agent, if you want to call him that, at that time, and he was taking a very little bit for the work he was doing, but he just wanted to see the next generation kind of come up, and he taught us everything.
That's awesome.
Then we're in the room negotiating with Roots literally the next night.
Oh, man.
I'm working off a hangover from the hockey game and trying to negotiate these deals, and they're multi-year deals.
Wow.
So things do change a little bit, and then you're just kind of thrust into the business. And Tessa is unbelievable. Looking back now, it's like, how do you she just had an act for it. Now it makes sense. She has her
20,
MBA.
At 20 years old.
And is just so sophisticated and able to stand in there with these guys that have built their companies, major CEOs, and she just
not
go
intimidated.
Not even close.
Cool,
They're intimidated.
Man. Yeah.
And I just be kind of behind her, you go, girl. And that was that worked. That strategy worked for a long time. Just find a good woman and make sure you don't get in her way and help her out every once in a while.
Well, it's that partnership, right? That exists. That I mean, Scott and I, we've had business partners over the years. We're partners, and Alex in this podcast. You have different personalities you have to deal with, and with the two of you navigating through all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about that in terms of that partnership and how you navigate, with each other. Obviously, you're going to have differences, you're going to have arguments and that sort of thing. But I have heard you talk on some other interviews, I think, in terms of the ice was sacred. We knew when we were on the ice, it was look, maybe we were having disagreements, but nothing else mattered. Yeah. And can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I do think about this a lot because now I'm really evaluating, minor sports, and because I have my own kids, and I'm trying to see what route I want them to go. And I'm a huge advocate for sport and what it teaches. Yeah. And but we were driving the bus our whole career, right? Tess and I, we were so in sync our whole career from every decision we wanted to make, whether that was, we're going to push to win juvenile and then novice and all the way up junior and eventually go on and win the Olympics. And right down to when it was you know what, this doesn't feel like it anymore, let's shut it down. And we were very fortunate to have that, but we were just always so driven. So we were setting up our little business. Okay, now we got to go skate in Waterloo, and that's ninth grade and 7th grade for Tess, right? And Tess is like, you know what? I don't need to go to 8th grade. I'll just bump right over that. I'm not going to go to graduation. I'm not going to do any of that stuff because she wanted to win. And then so she just jumped right in 9th grade in Waterloo. Then we were down in Detroit a couple years after that, like just crazy. And we were driven, and our parents kept being like, are you sure? Like, do you guys really want to do this? But like, in many ways, Tessa and I had such a complex relationship because we had a connection on the ice. Like you said, it was like...
Oh, you could see it. It was...
Yeah, and there's real like love in that connection.
Absolutely.
I think now that we're a little bit older and maybe not as embarrassed, but we also have our own like solidified partnerships, our life partnerships with Tess with Mo and me and with my wife Jackie, where we're secure enough to be able to talk about how special this relationship is. And so we avoided that for many years because we didn't understand it, to be frank. But also off the ice, sometimes we couldn't stand each other because very rare. For like we were together 22 years.
And like talk about hours per day.
Hours per day is high. Yeah, you guys get 45 minutes with me in here, and you'll be like, get the hell out of here. So imagine she does that 22 years, and you just and it's. The tensions are high. Like when you're in, I was talking to another friend of mine who also ended up winning Olympics this morning, actually, and saying like, it's when you're in it, man, it's your life. Like, you think at that age, if you win or you lose, it means you're gonna go on to be successful or not. Like you're just the stakes are so high. So to be in that or let down a country or let down your community and your
pressure
family,
cooker, man.
You're in that and you're fighting for it every day. There's gonna be some threats and there's going to be some disagreements and we had to work through that stuff. Like that's what people say, oh, you have the best relationship. Like, oh shit, did we ever work at that? Therapists and mental coaches and I think even now we're just probably starting to get into what is a normal, healthy relationship. I think would be more on scale with everyone else is used to, but it was complex. And then add in all these business opportunities. I was very tight. I didn't want to do anything to sacrifice because all I wanted to do was win. And Tess was much smarter in terms of being able to be like, yeah, but we can do these and win. And then we're going to get more exposure and then we'll have more fans, we'll have more support. And she understood that business side of it much earlier. But that did create some tension. I mean, when Air Canada calls or Visa calls and they're like, we need 10 days. And I'm like, hell no. I can't give you 10 days. Like I'm budgeting time, like right down to like what a stick of gum I'm going to have before the game. So like 18 months out, I'm not giving 10 days to Visa. And she'd be like, yeah, but if they give you $100K, then you might be singing a different tune. I'd be like, I never even thought of that. Like, I can buy groceries too at the same time. So Tess is was a huge influence, still is a huge influence in my life. But she's she's who I look up to if I ever need a question with any of my. I'm using this term entrepreneurial journey because I just loved it when you guys wrote that to me. It felt like such a hot shot. So that's who I kind of turn to. And that partnership is wild. What a blessing. I use it in my marriage. I use it when I father my kids. It's just like it taught me so much. And it's just two kids that grew up, and her in Masonville and me in Ilderton, same skating club. And we just wanted the same thing. And we just had that's when you start to think like, oh man, that was kind of meant to be. It's like freaky.
Yeah, it is freaky.
Countless hours on the ice, countless hours in the car. You know, you said you're both so driven to win, to compete. Do you know where that came from? Like, because it doesn't sound like it was your parents leaning on you. And the reason I'm going here, because we've got kids in sport. Yeah. I'm a coach as well. And, you know, it's this... I mean, you see the craziness out there with some parents, right? Yeah. And I don't even think we've seen the data on the overuse injuries that are coming with this like younger generation now. Because
I think we will.
It's coming. No, I think it's coming. Yeah. Right. You know, this single sport, highly specialized.
Oh, it's crazy. So many times a week, 12 months a year.
Right. Yeah. And then kids get burnt out. But obviously you guys didn't feel that burnout because it sounds like you guys were carrying that pressure on your own without your parents kind of pressing you.
Yeah, I feel like a hypocrite a bit because I say that to my mom and she laughs like, my God, I can't believe that my nephew, who's 8 years old, is playing hockey 4 times a week, right? And then they're at an extra practice. Like, what the hell? Like, I wanted to go outside and you can't find a frozen service like you used to be able to either, right? But like there seems to be a different end goal than even when we were. Like, if you were good, that you could make it, right? Like maybe like the kids thought there's a chance, but nobody played to go to the NHL.
Right.
Everyone just played to play, like to see if you could kind of have one up on some of your schoolmates or flatten a kid from Lucan or like, right? That's kind of what that was the goal. But now, it's crazy. And I've seen that more on the elite sport level with a lot of parents that really lean on their kids, and they're able to have success. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that they're able to have at least the short form of success, pardon me, and get the gold or whatever the hell they think is the main goal. But what I see after in that transition, and I believe that has more to play with athletes struggling transitioning to real life because they don't know what their worth is. They don't know what their why is. They don't know why they've been doing this other than they've kind of been forced into it. This is what you are. This is your identity. You succeed or fail at life if you're good at this one skill. That's too much.
That's
man.
a shitty thing to put on your kid.
And then you're robbing them of my belief anyways. And I'm a young parent. And I'm a hotshot young coach. I'm just gonna refer to myself as young as much as I can, just to keep this rolling.
You're younger than us, so
you're allowed.
Thanks, boys.
I need
maybe
that.
not. Maybe Alex is youngest in the room, but
I really think that you're robbing people of their growth through sport, and that's what it is. It's a tool, and I always say that to my athletes, like what is the sport doing for you? Like how are you using the sport to enrich your life? Right, because this is a tool, man. Like you're not good. Like and it's a position of strength, and it's the only time I kind of put my ego on the table. It's like I got them. You want the medals that you want? I got them.
Exactly.
They mean nothing.
So now what?
If you don't do it the right way?
Yeah.
It's not about the medals.
Yeah.
So.
That's wild though, because it's like but you were an Olympian. Like at what point?
Yeah, but that's I guess the part where I feel like a hypocrite because he's playing 4 days a week, and we were pushing my mom and dad, and Tessa pushing hers. Like we got to be driving to Waterloo 4 times a week, and we'd be waking up at 4 a.m. to get on the ice there at 6, and they're laughing at us like you guys made us do that stuff.
It was driven by you.
Yeah, that's the differentiator. And there are kids out there.
So.
Like my youngest,
obsessed.
He was in a tournament this weekend, 5 games.
Yeah,
we get home from the rink. We've been there the whole day.
He's snapping pucks in the basement.
The first thing he does when he gets home is go to the basement and starts ripping pucks.
Well, then
my nephew's a bit like that too.
Then you follow that.
And I'm like, good for you, bud. Like, have at her. But I'm not like, you missed that one shot. You better get down there and start ripping. Like, no.
And the sport experience is so important, man. Like, it's not about the tournament game. It's about going to be in the hotel with the boys, playing mini sticks in the hallway, going to dinner. Like, I used to say that all the time, and I still say that to Skate Canada. Like, you got to realize when you're like, man, I skated between the ages of 12 to 25 after I was Olympic champion to get girls. Yeah, I was trying to go get into these competitions where I saw a couple of prospects, right? Like that, or
now
you got
the
or
real
a good
motivation.
Party, right? That was a sport experience, man. We worked hard, we trained our asses off so we could be among our colleagues and do well. Then we wanted to have fun, and then that was the sport experience that I remember the most.
Of course. Yeah.
I don't remember what I skated like in Finland in 2016.
But you remember a few of those.
I remember going to the pub after, and
that's
pretty
good
wild
to hear
party,
that you didn't miss out on that though. I'm glad.
Sometime it was a bit of a detriment, but I was developing my social skills, I think. Which is important.
Yeah, but I mean, it is. My oldest son playing competitive basketball, and he doesn't get a lot of playing time. He's on the team with a bunch of studs, and kind of getting down on himself. But they're in the hotels, they're having a blast, and I'm like, dude, like I played high level hockey. I couldn't tell you any tournament we won or lost or whatever. I could tell you though when my buddy, did like a cannonball off the thing and almost, So in the pool at the hotel, so. Like you said, it's those relationships. And I've also heard, I think that's really important to you too, as you're still friends with a lot of your high school friends and that sort of thing. And you've worked hard at that, right? And like you left home at a young age.
I left home, I think, at a weird age. So I went to Medway for 9th grade.
Yeah.
And that's where ninth grade was the best school year of my life. Like my daughter will never know that, but like I loved it. I loved going to school, but I loved the people. And like most of my homies, like that's where they come from, the people that I connected with. And when I went to Waterloo, like I didn't care to meet new people. I had my crew, and I'd run home on the weekend as soon as training was done, and I'd hang out. And those are the people. Good. And I love, like, I mean, I love the community of Ilderton, man, and now it expands out in Camoka and North London, and so like I just always felt that like my roots were pretty strong there, and they were my people, and so I did work a little bit hard on that. It didn't feel like really a labor of love. It just came a little bit naturally. But back to your son, I love that sport experience for him too, because and this is where we get ourselves in trouble, I think, where we specialize too early, because we're robbing the kids to understand that there's different roles to be played. Right, like the kids always play where the sport where they're studs, but I learned more, and I still, man, you should see me play slow pitch. It's embarrassing. Like my team was just razzing me the whole time, but I'm learning more.
We thought you were an athlete.
You're an Olympic athlete.
I learned more arguably playing that. Like it's a different skill I never played, right? But playing sports like that when I was young, like soccer was more natural, but volleyball wasn't really. Basketball I was not really great at, but it's a different role, and then you start to understand. And then like I'm playing hockey, and I was a good hockey player because I could skate. I had shit hands. I still do. But like, when you get 5 or 6 breakaways,
one of them might go in.
I might get a shot on net. One shot on net. That's awesome. I wish you could.
That's great.
There's a couple guys in Ilderton just howling right now. That's knowing that it's the truth.
Can't
but
wait.
Then you also look at your teammates like, hey man, like he needs a little pickup, and those are valuable. Like I think those are such great lessons to learn in sports.
Yeah, man, it's this is so good already. There's so much. I got like 4 pages of notes that we got to get through, guys.
Oh yeah,
sorry.
Sorry. I will. I will rob you of your time. So quick.
No, it's all good. But I do want to, kind of fast forward to, I guess, the transition, out of being in the spotlight to now, what you're doing now. I think you're the managing director of an academy here locally. Yeah. And that's fairly recent, or so you're still involved in the sport, obviously.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to coach, man. Like I was. First of all, when I was an athlete, it's like taboo, right?
Yeah.
Like you're, of course, like my mom was a coach. And, that's what Moir is going to do. So I was like, hell with you guys. I'm not going to. So I would tell everybody, there's no way I'm coaching. And when I retired from like competitive skating, Tessa and I decided we weren't going to go for another games. We were already stretching it for 18. We just kind of started throwing. Like there was a lot of passion projects that we wanted to do, and it's ultimately led to our complete retirement. One was having our own tour. I didn't think I wanted to coach, but I knew I wanted to help my mom. Like she's been running the Ilderton Skating Club with my aunt. My cousins are involved. They're almost like, I think not almost. They know the sport of figure skating, especially at a grassroots level, way better than I do. And I saw that passion, and I wanted to help. I wanted to bring elite skating and help them bring elite skating, because I knew that I had a bit of a drawing card, and I knew that they were very capable. To run a program like that. So I just kind of started as a consultant, actually, and I wasn't serious about it.
Oh, okay.
And then we went to one nationals. It used to be called the Ilderton Elite or something like that. Sort of a shitty name that I gave it. We went to nationals, and I came home and I was like, I felt like our kids were getting beat by teams that were worse than us.
Really?
And it was because we just didn't have a good enough system in place. And so then I was like, okay, I think I'm in, but
there's
if I'm in, I want
to be done here.
Yeah. I want to change how we do everything. So we kind of separated from the skating club, because the mandate of the skating club is, for sport for enjoyment, grassroots, and
which you didn't want to abandon.
Right.
That's
of course.
important.
I think it's kind of disrespectful. We'd be kind of robbing money of being able to offer skating to the community, which is the mandate of Ilderton Skating Club, and they do a hell of a job, to create this really elite program and to bring international level athletes to our area, so that kids grow up in this area and want to ice dance, which I understand is a very niche market, but they don't have to go anywhere. And to create that, and then I started to look around, and I realized that the school that worked with at the end of our career in 2016, 2017, and 2018. It was called the Ice Academy Montreal, and it was my buddy who was the championship skater before us, Dubreuil and Lausanne. He created this in Montreal, essentially do the same thing. He had to go to Paris. He had to go. It was either go to Paris or go to Moscow, or like he had to go outrageous things. It doesn't make sense. In Canada, we have more hockey rinks than anywhere else.
Yeah, I know.
So why are we, and we're the best skaters in the world, why are we traveling abroad? So it became known to me, I guess, in time that was also a passion of mine to bring it to this area, especially knowing the track record that we have with NHL guys here and elite sports. Like London's a sport town.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we got Fowler Kennedy Clinic, the university is rocking. So like it makes sense, I think. And it always was like circled a little bit on the map, like why does skating not thrive here at an elite level? So then we started a partnership actually with them. So we're a satellite location of the Ice Academy Montreal, which is a very confusing name, but in short form it's IM, and in Ontario we call ourselves. So we have 12 teams. 6 of them are Canadian teams. 6 are international level. Well, they're all international level, but international kids, Italian. We have a Japanese team that comes in to see us. Even like Azerbaijan. Like there's a bunch of
right here in London.
So what does that look like for these international teams then? Because like
this is a hard concept for people to grasp, right? So like especially like on the podium, they were like, why would we train people from other countries, essentially, because we're robbing our kids of the shot to win themselves. It doesn't work like that in skating. Like you need to train with the best. Like when we were in Detroit, we were with a team called Davis and White. They were always pushing us, and we went like, we win worlds one year, they win worlds. We won Olympics in 2010, they won Olympics 2014, but we're escalating the level of what we're able to
pushing the sport.
Yeah, pushing each other, but on the ice with each other every day, man, and the level was just so much higher. And I started to see that success a little bit more in Montreal. Like we had a French team there that was really good. Tessa and I came in late. We weren't developed in that system, but we certainly flourished under it. It's probably our favorite years in our career, but he's seeing these kids now, man, coming out of the woodwork, and Canadian kids from Montreal, boom, they're on the world stage and they're unstoppable. And argue or not whether they would have been there no matter what, this certain case, yes, but the numbers are much higher, and it's because they've just grown up around that level of international. So that's the theory that I'm working off of, and I've seen it work in spades, man. We got kids from Hunt Club in Masonville, and we went to their first junior worlds last year. You learn to be professionals. Imagine being a junior hockey guy. Training with like Sidney Crosby every 12 months of the year. You're gonna escalate your So that's kind of the theory, and I have to do some unpopular things, and I like to piss off the arena guys by wearing my USA coat. But now I kind of see myself as working for the athletes a bit more. So what they represent, I represent. So it's weird, even the Canadians really don't like it when they see me in my US coat. But and it's. That's where I really had to learn. I work with a couple of really great consultants that make me understand, because in the beginning, like in the Ilderton Elite, I was like Mother Teresa, I was like, okay, we're going to keep it cheap. We're going to make it work. And then it was just like my accountant at the end of the year, like, what are you doing here, man? Like, are you trying to spend all your... everything that you've made in your skating career?
But I think that's normal as you enter into as a startup. Yeah, definitely. Like I've been down that path too, and same conversation like accountant going like, dude, are you running a business or are you just,
is this a shelter?
Just like a side gig? Like what's going on, and like understanding your worth, the value, that sort of thing. I mean, I'm in the creative industry, digital marketing. When we build brands for people, I used to design logos for $300. Now we're like, $5,000 to $10,000 for a full brand, a full branding campaign, really. So, it's like understanding, I guess the market, understanding your value, which obviously you bring incredible value to this area, which it's so good to hear that you're still involved in the sport, though, because there's probably still a lot more to go.
I think so, and I honestly, I'm learning every day. Like our Tessa and I's solution, our formula doesn't work for every athlete, right? So we're still trying to figure out different solutions to problems or to help these athletes develop, and the generation is very different than what we were. So I wake up ready to go to the rink, man, and I love my family, so that means a lot, and and just understanding, like I think we've been able to make a system that serves, because there are kids like us, like I think my mom and dad like had to remortgage their house like 4 times for me to go to the Olympics, right?
Wow.
And so we try and cater a little bit and make, like, we're pretty adaptable in terms of what package the kids can get, but also there are kids that are like want to be world class, and some, I have to be a profitable business to be able to deliver that.
Yep.
And kind of uphold my end of the bargain. And once I started to think a little bit more like that and understand that, actually, if I wasn't doing a good job, I was kind of doing my athletes a disservice.
Yeah.
That helped a lot. And now we have 6 coaches, 3 that work full time with me, and then a couple others that are more part-time, but I also feel like I have a bit of responsibility to them. They're all very talented, and so we're slowly getting some momentum with this academy, and it's cool. And
that's awesome.
We'll have 2 teams at Worlds in Boston in a couple weeks, and we have some elite level competitors here, right in London, Ontario. So
how much ice are you guys buying?
Oh man, it's wild. I need to build a rink. It's like we have a good partnership with the university. We buy
Thompson
a lot
Arena.
of ice. Yeah, Thompson Arena, because my mom has coached the university skating team for 40 years. So
how many?
40.
Not 4.
She retired,
40,
and I talked her back out of retirement because we're in London, man. And I'm like, I want to be around people that think excellence. And the university popped into my mind, and then we've kind of been slowly cultivating this relationship that I think is helpful. So, and it's also really fun because most of those athletes are just coming like at a transition where they skated a lot of their lives, but now they're putting school first, but they can still skate with more of an enjoyment. And so the practices are high energy. They're very fun.
Yeah.
And it's kind of rejuvenating for me because sometimes, elite sport can be, high, what seems like high stakes. Yeah. My wife who works in medicine reminds me that, like she can maybe not kill somebody every day, but ice dance isn't quite like that, thankfully, but it feels high stakes and it can get you down, and that really helps. But the partnership with the UWO helps a lot. And Middlesex Center, where I grew up, they've come around to trying to understand that, hey, I want ice that nobody else wants. That's a weird thing. Like, we work in the day.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take
the pads
ice.
are empty.
Yeah. I don't want to take ice from, like, I want kids playing hockey and ringette and figure skate and synchro skating, and I want kids doing all that. So if you have, let me know, and if you have kids coming in to do that, I'll go somewhere else, because I can find ice during the day.
Yeah. I think so.
And you need that support in my business. Like, we need that support.
Because ice is expensive.
It's crazy.
It's so
it is
expensive.
crazy. I mean, you and I both know that through hockey.
100%.
But it's
ice is
the economics of that sport, which won't go down, is a real problem.
Well, when you're trying to put a product
hockey
on the ice, you need the ice.
Yeah.
And I don't imagine the families that you guys are working with are in it for cheap. Like, it's an
investment.
The instruction is costly.
Yeah.
But a lot of people may not on the surface realize, like, a chunk of that just has to cover the ice cost.
Yeah, and that's the biggest for my athletes. That's the biggest expense for them. Like, the coaching, like, we try and bring, like, we have 2 Olympic champion coaches on our roster, and probably 50 plus years of coaching experience, and so that there is a price to be paid for that. I'm not going to downplay that. I'm very honest, but most of them see it as kind of their post-secondary education. So either they want to continue on and be a part of what we're building and see that as a future for them, which is what that is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help them use skating, but then also transition after. And do you want to be involved in skating? Do you want to do something else? And so it is more, not to use a really buzzy term here, but it is a bit more of that life coaching. Like, can I help you do? And we work with fantastic mental coaches, man. So
that's awesome.
Which is, and I like that, and congrats to you guys, because I think it's easy to get lost with tunnel vision and forget that there's life after sport, right? Like most of us aren't going to be an Olympian. Most of us aren't going to be a or a Stanley Cup champion, or even an NHL player for that matter. But you know, the majority of these families and kids who are just living at rinks and gyms and fields like all year round, man, it's easy to get lost in the hype. Right?
And that's why I love digging into that stuff. I think we should actually do it more, but like we try and do some education on budget stuff. They don't have to do it, but at least offer something to be like, hey, do you understand that? Like,
that's a great idea.
Your subscription to be with us is the same, and if you planned, you know, there really shouldn't be anything popping up. And try and help them with that. Try and help them with the nutritional aspect, education, and then that mental coaching stuff. All skills that are outside of figure skating.
Now,
because like that is the thing. Like you might use it to play rep hockey. Like I do every week, and it's pretty impressive. But like those skills on the ice, you're not going to use those again, man.
So that mental coach piece, with this academy, is that part of your programming? Is it an additional
bits and pieces? So depending, like it's part of it. And then when they work outside, they have that option as well. And most of them take that option. I mean, it's so funny. They work with 6 on-ice coaches. And then they'll be like, I'll work with like an hour a month with a mental coach.
And
this is elite sport, guys. That's not quite enough. So we started doing like a check mark program, which is if I need a check mark from your mental coach to say like, you're good to resume normal training, or I just take a bit of our normal lesson time and supplement it, book you an appointment and say, hey, or else we just end up doing marriage counseling and stuff too. And it's no fun, but also like, man, having a kid that's ready to go. And I mean, I've never had a session where I didn't think it was worth the money. And I know they're expensive. So most of them. The good ones are expensive because they're fantastic at what they do.
And where I'm going with this, I mean,
I keep cutting you off.
No, it's all good shit. It's all good shit.
It is good.
So, again, we've got boys. Our listeners are getting bored with me talking about my kids.
I like it though.
So,
no one's getting bored.
My oldest, solid athlete, bit older, plays competitive ball and hockey. If he only had a little bit more belief in himself, has all the potential in the world. So we've kind of gone down that path, and he's had some sessions, and it seems to help a little bit. But man, sport is so mental. It doesn't matter what sport you're playing. It's all between the ears. And what I've been pressing on of late in the last couple of years, and I try it with my own teams. I'm not a doctor or psychologist, so I make sure the parents know that I'm not trying to be. But man, the mental side of sport is such a key piece. But it's complete, like, no, more reps, more drills, more pylons. Let's just put them on the ice before school, put them on the ice after school. We'll just keep running them through all these drills. And it's like, man, like he can whip around a pylon like nobody's business. But when he gets on the ice in the game and he's under that pressure and we get down a goal early, now he folds like a lawn chair and is an emotional wreck on the bench. And
it's probably exhausted.
Right? Right?
So it's like before and
exactly.
after.
The fact that you guys are kind of integrating that mental aspect of the sport into the programming, I think is incredible. And I think more other sports can learn from it.
I think the future for us, so I think it is easier at an elite level because people are starting to understand the importance of it. It was pretty wild. Like when we won in 2010, we were seeing like pretty much a marriage counselor. And we didn't really start working with a sports psych until our lead up to 2014. And then we really worked with one in our final 2 years. And we were like going to class, man, where we were studying other athletes, understanding all the science behind a whole bunch of performance arts and really limiting, I guess, all the nerves, all the other factors that can affect you in the pressure moments. And of course, we still feel them, but we knew we were very equipped to deal with them. So I always like to say, like, man, in 2010, we were good skaters. In 2014, we were still able to make a moment. We were a little jaded. I mean, in particular, I was a little dark on the sport, and I was bogged down. Like you just talked about with your kid. Like
didn't have the skills to deal with it effectively.
And you're just grinding, and it's all, there's no payoff, and the beauty of the sport's gone. And then 2018, man, like I think it would have been very, very weird if we didn't hit that because we did
All
so
the
much
work you
more
put in.
work.
Yeah.
On the mental side, pretty wild actually. And we worked fantastic guy, and JF Menard, and he was, we had the same mental coach as like Mick Kingsbury, who's a mogul skiing god,
Awesome.
and a whole bunch of these others. So then we started studying each other, and it was pretty wild. So we were ready, and of course, like I'm sitting in the back hallway before the PyeongChang free dance, and I'm still shitting my pants. Like, everyone's just like, "Oh, I saw you on TV.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna do it, man." And I was like, "That's horse
Really?
shit," because I was terrified. I was probably looking for an exit.
Yeah,
but
that's
we knew how to deal with it.
That's that mental part. And I that was kind of one of the questions I wanted to ask you about that. I'm just kind of fascinated. Yeah, well,
he doesn't even have a notebook.
No,
either,
I know. Man, he's much smarter.
Thanks for noticing.
I don't know. I need my notes. Yeah, these guys know.
But I do think back to your point before you get because I don't want you to clean this up too much. I like how we're just spitballing. Just kidding. I do think
I'll just leave.
Yeah, no.
I'm kidding.
I do think that we're an elite sport. We do it well now. Grassroots, I think, is very special. It needs to be more play oriented. But in the bridge, like if we are going to take it serious, if we are going to do more times a week, I think it would be interesting, and that's what I want to build, kind of a bridge from Ilderton Skating Club to our elite program, where you're doing that much more in like a group atmosphere, understanding the concepts of the mental training. And then if some kids take to it or not, I just think we really underdevelop that. And then we expect a kid that has this immense athletic ability to be, and maybe not the mental capacity to be able to handle these huge situations. And of course they crumble. So I think in sport that could be maybe a next step. And they are doing it pretty well, I think, in some of the building programs where they challenge them to think differently. And so
you can subsidize the cost by in that middle ground where there's more of group level session.
That's what we found to be a little bit like I do some synchro skating stuff too, and it's expensive, man. That sport, like you got to travel as a team, and you got to take a bus, and like that stuff gets to you, right? Jeez. You got to go to France. So it's like 20 people are going, not 3. So, so we've done more group setting stuff, and I found it to be very, very effective, and especially getting the knowledge base, because it's not all working out your problems. So I think that's a different skill. Like if you have trauma or something, a lot of people are working through things, or you're that's just the way you're made with all these. We're talking a lot more about mental health and the anxieties and all the things, and those are different skills, I think, than, not to be ignored either, but then kind of the mental toughness of sport.
Well, because some kids,
if a sports psych heard me say mental toughness,
I
know
they'd be coming after you.
Sorry, I am born in the 80s, I guess. There, right?
Pitchforks.
You're good.
But you see. I mean, sure, you've seen it. We probably all recognize it, right? Like, there's some kids who like the natural, call it mental toughness. People are coming after us here.
I like it,
but
at least we're starting the conversation.
But they don't. But they don't. It's like they're just so resilient. Like they don't even like. The score doesn't matter whether they're up, whether they're down. They just work their bag off, and they're just battling, right? And maybe they don't have the most skill, but they're relentless on the puck, and they're just a pain in the ass to play against, and they have success. And then you got these other kids who are like just natural athletic talent, so skilled, they're just poised to be like unbelievable, but their emotional stability,
or they could care less,
and the ups and downs, is like a roller coaster. And then you have the kids, and I have chats with these kids too. I'm like, at U8 competitive or U9 competitive, it's like, fellas, this is competitive hockey. Yeah. It takes a certain type of discipline and commitment. If you don't want to come to the rink and get better every day, then that's okay, but competitive might, like you guys, junior nights, like you all said you want to be a junior knight one day or a junior Mustang one day. That's a higher level from what you're playing today. If you can't figure out that it takes a little extra dedication and commitment to get better every day, like I'm not saying you shouldn't play hockey, but the competitive level may not be right for you. And that's okay. And I think that's the challenge with even the parents, is because they're the ones who are chasing the letters. The kids don't give a shit, man. At the end of the day, my oldest played junior nights until 13U, and then didn't make the squad. Went down to Mustangs at the end of that season, where we had a team dinner after the last game, and we're leaving the restaurant. He's bummed. Something's going on. I'm like, dude, what's going on? He's like, nothing. I'm like, no, dude, like, trust me, like, I can tell, like, something's going on. He's like, Dad, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. I'm like, seriously? He's like, Dad, leave me alone. I'm like, all right, fine. So we go home. His brothers screw off doing something else. I'm like, okay, what's going on? He's like, I'm sad it's over. I'm like, what? He's like,
it's beautiful.
This was the best year ever, and his team was shit. They didn't do that well. Like, they didn't hoist shit. Like, I think they maybe won one tournament, but the end of the season was a letdown. They didn't meet their expectations of what they were capable of. But man, like, he's like, Dad, I had so much fun. I'm gonna miss these boys. Like, I'm gonna miss this. Like, I'm so sad it's over. Not once in his junior nights career did he ever have that same thing. And that's where I'm like, oh my God, here I am, his dad, like, pissed that he didn't make the nights right at the start of that year. Yeah. But little do I realize, like, he fell even in more love with the game, getting knocked down a level and just having a blast with his buddies.
We do deal with that a little bit, and it still comes, like, the parents still think that they're doing the kids a service by pushing them to expect the most out of themselves. But some kids just, that's not what they want. Yeah. Right? Like, and even at elite sport level, like, everybody who sits in my office wants to be Olympic champion. But then, like, they show up late for practice. They kind of give 50% effort. It's like, that's not actually what you want, is it? Like, let's figure it out. It's okay. Like, you don't want what I wanted. That's actually the worst thing. And when you can get them to understand, not to another buzzy word here, but their why or what we're doing, then the whole team is just, it clicks, man. And then, then you get much more of those sports experience. And that's the beautiful thing. And then usually with that joy also comes the results that they desire. It's cool.
I think what's interesting about where, being in London, and particularly we were talking about this off mic, is that, we've got this ecosystem of elite athletes like yourself and Tessa, Damian Warner, all the London Knights that have gone on to the NHL. They're right in our backyard. And you almost, as a parent, you're like I can sit here and have a conversation with, like, Scott Moir, or like Joe Thornton might show up at a rink, and you're like, it's right here. It can happen, right? And I think that, I don't know, we're in this ecosystem in London where it's like, I don't know, we have this kind of not an unrealistic expectation, but it's like, if I just talk to Scott and he gives us, like, that special recipe of how to be an Olympian athlete, we can do it, right? But there's so many things that need to happen. You need some luck. You need the hard work. You need, like it's got to be a perfect storm. Yeah. To even just have that crack in the door that you go through. I imagine
you got to enjoy the journey, man. Like, I think there are parents that get it. Yeah, it's the process, goals, and like, I'm not saying to not be driven, but to want to come every day and get better, to grow. Like, that's huge at all levels of sport. I think that needs to be in there, or else you maybe need to find something else. Yeah, doesn't 100%. Mean you do 7 days a week.
That's true. But so I'm glad you mentioned that, Scott, the process, because I know that, like, you and Tessa were very innovative. Your brand was like, power, innovation, and but I know, and I've heard you talk before about process and how important that was. What was that like for you guys in terms of, like, creating that process, creating the innovation? Were you guys part of the creation of, like, the creativity of your routines and things like that?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. And T, she was always a really great mover as well, and always, like, in our generation when we grew up, you need to do new things, and we were always reinventing ourselves. And but I guess, like, as a brand as well, we wanted to prove, like, as Ice Dance brand, that we could do everything. That we could tango, or we could salsa, or whatever the hell we picked to do, love story, or a fight between us. Like, we could do it all. And we felt like that meant we were the best team in the world. And I think that strategy, instead of just playing on our strengths, like recreating a new strength every year, that really helped us in the long run. And then in the end, we came back to what was closest and nearest and dearest to our hearts in terms of the product we put on the ice. Yeah, but our brand off the ice was different, right? Like, we wanted to always be professional, and then, like, Canadian. Like, which is funny now. I work with American athletes and stuff, but, like, so Canadian, like, hardworking, like, professional kids that gave everything they could to sport, because we always saw the leaf on our back as such an honor. Yeah. So that was our brand, and then as we got a little bit older, kind of letting people in a little bit got super interesting, because it made our brand much more powerful. Like, having a couple beers at the hockey game was huge for me. Like I didn't have to buy a beer in a bar for a long time, but it also let people know that, yeah, man, like I'm an ice dancer, but I'm also just a guy. Like I'm just normal.
You're a normal
guy.
dude who doesn't mind a frosty beverage.
And now T and I, like, we're much more comfortable being ourselves. And I think there's like a realness that maybe you hadn't felt in skating for a while that people connect with, and they want to support us, be part of our story. And it was the last bit of our career is a real fairy tale. And then into those tours, I mean, we did 35 cities in Canada once, and then 28 the second time, and all these little communities. And I mean, we decided, because of skating, we had to change. Like when we were growing up and our first Stars and Ice tour, we're playing ACC and it's full, and we're doing that. But now, like, everything changed, and so after the Olympics, there was a good following, so we were able to fill the ACC in the bottom bowl of Bell Center, which is pretty much as good as we get. And then, but like, we got this idea to go into Thunder Bay, right? Or Peterborough and play 5,000, but fill it and like bring in like the lights that a rock star would have, and like pump the music. And Canadians it was awesome. Like that was cool, probably one of our favorite parts of our career, because we were just with our friends, going out every night, and then actually, like, we'd walk into the stands and we'd go, like, it'd be a little girl just starting skating. You stop and talk to her, eat some of her popcorn, and it was so fun. Like that was I wish the format for that worked a bit better, because ultimately, like, it just takes too much money to get that across the country and to have it have a long life.
At that scale.
At the scale. And then and Chitty, like Patrick Chan was a huge part of it, and we were both kind of phasing out. We would have to make it a full-time gig, and I think we saw it at the end, so we kind of cut our losses and moved on.
But I mean, talk about, it wasn't one of those shows, didn't you have a live band? It was like
we had
Rock
a band,
the Ice or something?
We had a band, Birds of Bellwoods. They'd come out and play before.
That's
awesome.
They
were essentially kind of like our opening act.
Nice.
But, I used a lot of people in the sport that came before us that I really respected, and one of those guys was Scotty Hamilton, and he'd always say to me, I loved going. First of all, our meetings would be at Preds games, so that worked. So I'd sit there with him, and you'd walk the concourse with Scotty, and you could hear everybody. The guy was big, like he's this tall, but he's bigger than life.
Of course.
And you walk and you hear everybody say, "That's Scotty, Scotty Hamilton." And at the beginning, I maybe thought they were talking about me, but he would always say to me, like, you know what? Like, I never looked up to skaters. What I try to do is look at people who are leaders in their field. So like I look to you two, or I look to Tom Petty. I forget, he would have said Bruce Springsteen, he's American. And that, like, he used rock stars as an inspiration for a tour. So we tried to do that, and we hired a rock guy, and he threw us a awesome tour, and that's cool. It was cool, and then we were able to do the Stars on Ice, which is a bit more of the classic skating, and we were able to do that for many years too. And I mean, good for them. They've kept that brand alive for 25 years or something, right? Yeah, that's wild. And now we did two of ours, and then we're happy to move on with it. But it was a really fulfilling part of sharing our passion, which is really what I built all of, I guess, the businesses that I have off of, is my passion for sport. The sport I know best is figure skating. So out of that, you get a little bit more of these like service businesses, which is the Elite Skating School, and the Moir Skate Shop, which is pretty much a way to just get kids in good skates.
Nice. Yeah.
So
that's out of Moir Skate Shop is out of Kamoka?
Yeah, it's in Kamoka. On Kamoka Road.
So that's another business that you're involved in?
Yeah. My uncle. So my uncle always did my stuff growing up.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mentioned that my family had a huge part in the Ilderton Skating Club. Teaching people to skate, and the kids showing up, man, and just awful equipment all the time. Like, and it ruins the sport. You guys know, you get a pair of skates that don't fit, or you're flopping over, and like, we have no interest really in like competing with, like, in town here we love Source, and the Pete's is a bit far for us, but when I was a kid we always went to Pete's. They did a great job, but Source does a good job with hockey. We wanted something that could help kids if they're interested in figure skating, and we were surprised, like, people drive from far to come and see us.
I was going to say, like if I think of, like, I used to work at Source, I still spend an obnoxious amount of money.
Yeah, I was just in there, man. They took such good care of me.
Yeah, and they do. And when I was there, like, they train you how to fit skates. Like, they actually take the time to train their people. It didn't matter if I played hockey my whole life. I had to go through the skate fitting training. And yeah, the selection and options available is robust. But I got to imagine, like, outside of your shop, when it comes to
it's different.
Figure
so
skating.
custom.
Yeah.
I remember my sister grew up figure skating. I remember, man, the process of
Like,
getting
where'd you
her
go?
a pair of skates
Yeah, where'd
was
you
like,
go?
holy shit,
Yeah, it's-
like quite the customized process, right?
Yeah, it's
that you guys have
different.
brought here to with the Moir skate shop, right?
Yeah, we're proud of that work.
Yeah.
I mean, my uncle has a lot more sweat equity than I do in that business. And
Yeah.
I'm always very proud of what he's been able to do for our community in skating.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a bit more difficult. You know, I do think CCM and Bauer now they've got a pretty great system going
Oh,
for
yeah.
their skates. Like you
Yeah.
step into a hockey skate, every hockey guy's just like, man, I just have to so hard to break these in. I just laugh. It's like, boys,
You have no
like
idea.
you're stepping in
Yeah.
these and you're
Yeah.
flying for a shift.
Yeah.
Like, but
Yeah.
they're getting a bit better. There's a good, like Jackson is the company out of Waterloo that we offer the most. There's an American company called Rydell, and then 2 Italian companies that are really kind of, those are the 4 companies in the world that we deal with. And yeah, I mean, listen, at this Moir skate shop too, like we're trying our best to keep prices down, especially in those starter kits. But yeah, it's again, like good equipment isn't cheap, man.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing.
Yeah.
We got to import, and
But necessary at
it's
that
necessary.
level.
You're
Yeah,
gonna.
it's
I
necessary.
mean, yeah, man.
Yeah, it's gotta
you're
be.
in it for 20 hours a week. Like,
Well, you see it in hockey where, you know, parents will buy the you know, I don't want to bash Canadian Tire, the Canadian Tire special, so
Yeah.
to speak, right?
Yeah.
And if you're on the ice, you know, 5-6 times a week,
yeah.
and you know you're not, you know, you're more than 75 pounds, like those skates just aren't
Yeah,
going to
you're
last.
done. Yeah,
You're
and
gonna
it
blow.
won't be an enjoyable sport
No.
experience.
No,
too.
no.
Yeah.
I guess we're not getting a sponsor from Canadian
No,
Tire.
not this one. No, they have some good stuff. They have some good stuff
Damn.
too. But I mean, like for me, I need that really expensive stick, or I can't shoot the puck at all. Right? Like, I couldn't shoot the puck.
So it didn't
with
matter.
with a Canadian
Yeah.
stick, it was like just pushing it towards the net. Now
Give 'em a
I
broom.
get the 70s,
Broom.
pretty much
Yeah.
the 70 flex. Phil Kessel, I just look
Oh,
at
that's funny. Scott, I got some things I really want to rip through here too. But you know, I've heard you talk about how you guys really surrounded yourself with good people you trust. Can you talk about, you know, kind of the power of collaborating? Like you're very humble, and it's very admirable for sure. But I mean, I know that with you and Tessa, you guys were driven, extremely driven. You had your own vision, and it takes a lot to kind of pull back and be like, hey, we can trust other people around us, right? And in business, I mean, I you know, I do that every day. I've hired people that are much smarter than me that I learn from every day. That collaborating, like how important is that in any entrepreneurial journey or partnership or venture, you know?
Well, I do think I use it every day. I hope. Yeah. I think some days I'm better at it than others. I'm proud of my team. That's been kind of our theme at the academy, to try and, you know, collaborate, and you know, you're just so much stronger as a team. So we do use that, and I mean, actually, I'm not the most, I don't think anyways, I'm a little insecure as a creator, but my team really creates. And then if I see something, I can see them get a little momentum, then I can jump in. And so we kind of cover each other's tracks, especially in the creative season with that collaboration. And then once you get working like that, it's just, I would never work another way. Like if someone comes to me, and that'll happen often, like, I want you to do a program for me. It's like, I don't want to, but I'll do it with my team, and I will make it because I just know the product will be that much stronger. And, but with Tess, like, she kind of taught me that skill. It was pretty easy to collaborate with her because she's honestly, I don't need to pump her tires too much, but she's operating on genius level. So everything, like, it just was second nature to her, how to move. She could skate like the wind, but like how to really create something and make movement. She's just, she works at it, so I don't want to say she's gifted, but geez, it was a fun ride to watch. So to be able to like create those collaboration skills, I mean, she didn't really ever miss. So I got to be able to start collaborating with someone that had no risk involved.
Right.
But mostly now when I'm collaborating with my team, and I'm collaborating with I also have my full team in Montreal that I'm working with. Because they're integrated part of our business as well. We like we're 2 separate campuses, but we do work together. So we just find different ways to include each other and really open that communication, and it pays off. You know, sometimes I get mad at myself because I think like, okay, like they'll be pissed if I just keep calling. So I'm going to try and do this one on my own. And product doesn't end up as strong, and then they're like, "Are you mad at us? Like,
why didn't you call?
Why aren't you using us?
Right,
like, yeah,
right,
we're supposed to be a team." And so, it's a skill that we work on. But yeah, I'm a team creator. I think
that's awesome.
It helps so much, and that's really, I think, the biggest, as the director of this location of the academy. That's my job, to empower my team to work together, and you know, sometimes I have to put my idea on the back burner, or at least say my idea and be prepared for it to be wrong. But then I'm happy to. I think one of my strengths, I'm able to reflect and then come back like, okay, I'm ready to try.
Yeah,
ready to try that.
That's awesome.
That's what I was going to say.
It's important, man. I don't know.
Recognizing your blind spot and not being so insecure about that blind spot that you completely ignore it and just bulldoze through and piss everybody off around you, right?
Yeah.
And having some trust in the people around you that, like, you know, this is my blind spot. This is their strength. I'm going to just pass the torch.
Yeah.
I'm going to let them take it and run with it. And I'm just going to be okay with that. And that's okay.
And when I when I was in the darkest parts of my career, like the part where I'm like, you know, I still have those days too. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
No, that's what I rely on. You know, they pull me out.
Right.
Some days I'm pulling them out, but my favorite story, like, was sitting in the change room before going out for the last skate in Korea. Like, I'm nervous. I don't like. Maybe this isn't. You know, we're competing against arguably the best ice dance team ever, and Gabby and Guillaume, the French team, and you know what? Maybe this isn't my time. But then I started to think about who's on my team. Tessa, you know, and I have the best sports psych in the country. You know, I have the best off-ice trainer in the country. And then I started thinking about my team, like the team behind the team. And I was just like, "Whoa, shit!
You got this."
Boy, wow. Yeah. I'm almost looking around the room like,
they don't have this.
You poor boys, like, you're in for it now.
No idea.
And that's I do that a bit with my team. I'm actually quite
awesome.
uncomfortable with
that.
because I don't think that as coaches we create the kids. I think we help the kids, and you know, most of them will find their way some way or another. We try and ease some of the course, and you know, we're able to focus them and enlighten them, hopefully. But we don't get any of the credit. But I'm also very uncomfortable because, you know, they will get that a lot. Like, well, of course, you're Scott Moir's student, but I don't really like that. But when it's my team, I'm like, absolutely.
That's our team.
Like, you
That's
guys
wild.
are.
That's interesting, right? Because, you know, as business owners, it's like you're expected to have all the answers. You're expected to be the visionary and the leader. But, you know, it takes a lot to say, man, I don't have the answers this time. I'm having an off day. I don't have the vision. You guys got to help me. I got to support and lean on my team. And it's powerful, man.
So our coach Patrice, who I talked about earlier, he's probably one of the biggest mentors of my life, and that's his mandate is what my mandate is now, which is to help our students, you know, onto the next part of their journey. So he's still coaching me in many ways, challenging me. You know, we'll go out for dinner. I'll make him have a couple bottles of wine, and he just challenges me the whole time, and he's just sitting there smiling at me. But he taught me the most when he was coaching me. The moment that I learned the most was when he said exactly that. I was like, this is what I want to do. How do we get there? And he just sat there for a second. He's just like, I actually don't know. Like, I don't know the answer.
Right.
But what I do know is I promise I'm going to work as hard as I can with you, and we'll find the answer together. I was just like, oh, man. So, then you can come in free of ego a little bit and ready to grow together. Everyone's there. And I always say that to my students, too. Like, hey, man, I don't know a lot of this. Like, I'm guessing. Like, I don't have a crystal ball. I'd love if parents come to you like, can you make my... hey, my crystal ball is as clear as yours. Right? Like, but I'll try. Like, we can go down this journey together and then try and grow, you know. And so that's a super,
great concept,
I love that.
man.
I love that. That always stuck with me. I'll never forget that, because I think early in my career I'd been like, what do you mean you don't know, man? Like, all right.
What am I paying for?
Exactly.
We talked about earlier on in your career, and one thing that fascinates me about you that I've just thought a lot about since I knew we were going to have you on the pod is that, you know, you started growing up playing hockey, like you're a hockey guy, right? You started playing hockey and transitioned into
hockey.
Yeah, you love hockey. Hey, you're a Leafs fan too, by the way, Scott. So
for now. No,
for now. And but I mean that transition into figure skating, where not like a lot of young boys might have even known that was a path. Right. And the fact that you were steadfast on that path, and really you created this path for a lot of other young men that are coming up, young boys, for sure. 100% you did. What was that journey like for you? Was that hard for you, or were you just so focused you could give two shits about what people were?
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I think there were times so I did start figure skating to help my hockey. So
nice.
I started hockey was my first love. And my mom was a skating coach, so she, I think, pulled a fast one. But I started can skate and hockey skates. I started skating at 3. I wasn't in figure skates till 6.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like skating.
Yeah.
I would sit on my hockey gear waiting for my dad to be ready to go, but skating, I'd be hiding in my room crying. I didn't want to go. Yeah. But then Tessa walked into my life, and that completely changed my course.
Wow.
And she was this, I remember the first day I saw her, little girl, can skate as fast as me, jump higher than me, 2 years younger than me. And what started our relationship was just my competitive nature. What the hell? I'm the hot shot around here. And that's figure skating is a bit like that to a fault, where it's the same with
peacocks all over the place.
Yeah, so you gotta have the ego.
But ballet, right? Or dance, there's just not many guys.
No.
So if you're a guy in the sport, you get the VIP pass. And I went, I was a little shit. So I was throwing snowball and running around. Wow, man, I'm sure my aunt who coached me at a young age, who also coached Tessa, who put us together, she had her hands full with me until Tess came around. And then she just was very smart. I think just oh, okay, why don't you guys why don't you watch her axle? And then try. And and then it took me a while, because then we started skating together.
You guys were young.
We were young,
talking 9 years old and 7 years old or something?
Yeah, my cousin and Tessa's sister were very good friends, and they thought it'd be cute if we were dating.
Yeah.
So we were dating when we started skating. That's a real hot. Mm-hmm. Even though we weren't talking, and I actually broke up with her, which I like to bring up a lot. So
get that in there.
I just wonder if no, I'm just kidding.
We've merged into a dating podcast now.
Tessa, exactly. Tessa always laughs because I called. That's how young we were. I called her and was I don't want to go over there anymore, and then I hung up the phone. Of course, I'm an idiot. The next day I'd go to the rink and see her, and she didn't know if it was a prank call or. But anyways, it took me a couple years to realize that, oh man, this girl's on my team. That sounds stupid, but I was just operating out of not being completely shown up by this amazing talent. And then, once I kind of figured out that she was on my team, I fell in love with skating, honestly. I did love to go fast. I love to do tricks on the ice. I always loved that. But skating with Tessa, is
different.
Just
experience.
Activated a part of me that changed. And then at one point, I realized, I like to dance. In front of people. Yeah. And what a weird thing for a kid from Ilderton, Ontario, right? A small town boy. Yeah. Hockey player at heart. And I would be in my Leafs gear. I'd show up to figure skating competitions. I didn't even want people to know I was there to skate. They think I maybe took a wrong turn. But then to understand, oh man, I love to dance. And I love to dance with Tessa. And I love to perform. And I love to act characters. And that was a bit of a different journey. And But the question I get a lot, and I think it's better now, I get a lot is were you bullied? I wasn't. I got that a bit. I was always part of, I have a good group of friends. And I grew up with them. And they knew, first of all, I was a pretty good hockey player, especially when I was young. So they were a bit scared to say anything because they knew they'd be on the ice with me the next day. But the other part of it was they could make fun of me internally, and I would make fun of them for shit too, but not really outsiders, So I always kind of had guys. I always had my back. Were extremely proud of me, and then would be I don't know if I'd be into that, but that's pretty cool, that support meant a lot to me. And my buddies, they were always there for me, and they'd be would be funny, you're in high school and you're drinking and doing a whole bunch of other stuff, and they'd always be like looking out for me.
Yeah.
It was funny, like, because Matt Reed and I went to the same high school, so we always joked that we'd be at a party and we'd be always the ones like kind of not drinking and like taking it easy, and but they really looked out for me and took care of me through a lot of that stuff.
That's amazing,
so
man. That's
neat.
so awesome.
Surround yourself with people who look after you and build you up.
Yeah, and I mean, it was like the ones that I kind of got to or that really stuck close with, they're all successful in their own right, like different things, farmers or in trades or in, your level of success is different, whatever you picked as a path. But we did have a lot of similarities in that way, and they could see they were all like pushing themselves and playing hockey or other things as well.
Yeah, that's so awesome to hear.
Man, we could do this all day, but I don't think we should.
No, we didn't. Yeah. Yeah, we got to let Scott go. I mean, I've got a book of questions, but I think really kind of we've gotten into the really understanding your journey, which is great. I mean, I know I wanted to hear more about it, and our listeners and that sort of thing. Collaborating, mindset. I mean, obviously, there's so much more we can go down and talk about, but I love how actually you talk about, Scott, how like Tessa brought out a different part of you and kind of brought out the best in you, and she's a force and she's a power. But I would think that she would be saying the same thing about you, right? Where you guys had this partnership, and she wouldn't have been her without you, right? So
it's tough to say for sure. Like I think I think we were each other's biggest fans, and that was it, like always. And I think I don't know, her mom was very influential in how she grew up, and but she was always supportive with that kind of stuff. And then when we worked with professionals, it kind of brought that out, and now she's a master's of positive psychology, so she's a force to.
Wow.
But I think there's a part of that where we were kind of just learning from each other and inspiring each other, but completely supporting each other. And there were years when I was young that I still look back and just like cringe, but like you're 13 years old, right? And you're like a little dick or something, like just an asshole one day or 2 days. But, and I'm not going to eliminate some of those biggest fights we had. People would be surprised, man, like 9 months out of the Olympics, we can't talk to each other. And we right the ship and end up winning the Olympics 9 months later. But, those fights are intense and real, but in the most part, pretty unbelievable 22 years and that partnership. And now we're at the stage, like, because we both have families now, and Tess working for Deloitte, and, working with a couple. I got to get her into the academy more often. She's been dropping hints, and I just got to snake her.
Nice. There you go.
But now we're at the point where it's like, okay, like we miss that. And I think our partners can tell too, like Mo and Jackie, like whenever because we're now to the point where they have their boy and my boy about the same age. So we're at the point where we're like hanging out a little bit, and then Tessa will go off on her own. And I think they're pushing us to work together a little bit more again. And
that's awesome.
So I miss it. There is something in that work relationship that's truly special. So
yeah, sweet.
Well, we'll be watching, we'll be listening, and I think if you guys do have that chance, we'd be looking forward to seeing what you guys can do. Because
it'll be fun.
Man. Yeah. I mean, it's great. So the I Am Academy, which is the Ice Academy in Montreal.
And Ontario campus.
Right here in London.
Ontario,
And you're training the future of the sport here in our backyard.
Yeah, it's fun. I think that's a cool piece. And
right on, man.
Yeah, we've got some very good local like kids that came from London area. That are like our fourth best in the country, fifth best in Canada, second best in USA, third best in Italy. So like there's some cool talent here.
That's incredible.
And then not only that, like some young guys coming up. Like I talked about going to Junior Worlds last year. Like part of that, I'm really proud of them for their accomplishments. That's not. I think that the kids make their own path, but. Yeah, in general, I do feel pretty fortunate. My athletes come every day and want to grow, want to be better. Some days we miss the mark as a team, and most days we're able to achieve. So that's pretty cool.
Well, Thanks, man. Thanks for, doing our country proud and doing our city proud and continuing the good fight with an amazing sport that you guys carved the path and, for so many more families and athletes kind of aspire to. So thank you so much for coming on and spending this time with us. It's, so grateful. So
that was my pleasure, boys. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, take care. Be well.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
You too. I'll be listening.
Yes, yes, sir. All right.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Yep. Nice job.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Another great episode. Thanks for joining us. Please support our podcasts. By supporting us, you can go to YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, go to our website, hustleandgrindpod.com. That way you can go and you can apply to be a guest. Listen to us anywhere that you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, all the channels. But we really appreciate your support. Keep listening. We have a lot of great episodes and a lot of great guests ready to go. We're going to keep coming hard at you here and digging into the hustle and grind of what it takes to be an entrepreneur and a business owner.